Hi everyone, my name's Ian White. I'm the head of our advisory and support practice here at Fujitsu. Our focus, or my team's focus, is really looking at how we can maximize the value of the ServiceNow platform for our customers. Increasingly, what we're seeing is we're working more and more with our data and AI team, and we're seeing that customers have ServiceNow. They have really powerful AI platforms such as Databricks, for example, many others out there. But there is few that are actually getting the value of actually connecting those two platforms together. So that's what we're here today to talk about, and I'm joined by the lovely Ray from our data and AI practice. So Ray, if I'm correct, you're Associate Director in our data and AI platform.
Yep.
Really awesome to have you on the call.
Thank you.
Now, before we dive into specifics, right, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to be a bit provocative here, right, what does your team do, mate? What does your team do? And I'm talking, beyond the buzzwords, beyond all the AI buzzwords that are out there, what's your team doing for our customers when it comes to AI, data analytics, and end-to-end solutions? Give us a little bit of a picture.
Yeah, and there are plenty of buzzwords in our domain. So I think it really comes down to we take data, we turn that into insights, and we take insights and we turn that into actions for many of our customers. And that involves helping them implement many of these data and AI platforms, and helping them build their industry use cases on top of them.
Yeah.
And ultimately what that could mean is something simple like for retailers to really understand their mix of profitable marketing campaigns, what potential ancillary products they should sell together and bundle together for promotional items. So there's quite a range of things that we offer, but if you really distill it down, it's data to insight, insight to action.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So you're helping those retailers look at their customer base, going, here's some of our items that we could proactively target and drive, increase in sales, increase in margin. So to me, that's kind of taking insights from dashboards into decisions and then following through with actions, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of our customers, they're familiar with ServiceNow. That to them is really that kind of workflow engine, that experience platform. It's not necessarily, in a lot of companies, their data platform. Where do you kind of see the natural connection points between those two platforms and where that's starting to really drive value for our customers?
Yeah. Look, I think many of the modern data platforms out there, they're built for integrating various data sets from operational systems, telemetry devices, and they really have the power and scale to manage large volumes of data. And ultimately, what we're trying to find within that data is elements of insight, and that we'd like to action on. And I think that creates a really great opportunity, for taking insight elements, putting that into automated workflow, and actioning on top of that. So I do believe, data platforms and workflow engines, they really complement each other really well, and it ultimately creates that closed, loop to close out a piece of work.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's not replacing ServiceNow, right? It's amplifying it. So you've got these rich data sets, and you're able to actually then, if you've got ServiceNow connected to multiple different areas of the business, HR, risk, IT, etc., actually then drive the action off that insight into every area of your business, which is pretty exciting.
Definitely.
Right? So this is all good and well, and it's lovely, talking about it all. But what's a real customer story for the viewers that are out there? So I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I want a concrete example. What was the problem that existed? What changed? What did we do for that customer? and why did it matter, and what was the impact to that customer?
Yeah, we do a lot of work within the mining, energy, and utility space. And they've got a range of data around the actual operation. A lot of it's telemetry related data that measures performance of specific assets. So ultimately it's helping them mine that data, looking at the performance of a specific asset element, and then helping them predict when they need to perform maintenance elements on it. That ultimately leads to them being able to prevent certain asset failures, which then ultimately keeps the operation flowing. So I think with joining up these two platforms, you can really get to the inside components, really measure to quite a fine and specific grain, and then impact maintenance activities.
Yeah, brilliant. And I remember we had a conversation the other day, and I think we were talking about something similar, and you said prevention's better than cure, right? So, and I'm all about proactivity, and couldn't agree more. So, on that theme, I feel like asking the question, and I'm sure the question's on the mind of our viewers out there. Why now? Why do this now? Why not 3 to 5? Why not 3 to 5 years time? Why don't we wait until we've got our data in a better state? Why don't we wait to see what the technology does, etc., etc. A lot of customers out there even probably wondering where they are on that AI maturity curve now, and where they should be by when. And there's that huge pressure at the moment. I talk to customers in every region, every single one's under the same pressure to demonstrate return on investment, and if they're going to put a lot of money into AI, how are they going to measure that back into the business? So what's your advice for people that have those questions floating around in their mind?
Yeah, I think why now? I think 2024 was the year of the LLM and getting that into the enterprise. We were all introduced to tools like Copilot, GPT, and getting that across the user base within organizations. 2025 was definitely the pilots of, say, some of these agentic AI workflows.
Yeah.
And I think 26 will be a bit more kind of mainstream implementation of these. And I think why the time is right is that the data exists. We're measuring it to a good enough degree. If there are certain gaps in the data, we've got methods of closing that, whether that's additional telemetry or recording, or changing a process. And then I think the general platforms that we're using have been amplified by LLMs. So I think the workflows are a lot more intelligent, a lot more flexible today.
Yeah.
And that creates opportunity to create value a lot faster and quicker. So yeah, I think technology is there. Some of the things that might be keeping us from it is our imagination, and our willingness to take risks in the space. I think getting value out of it from a business perspective, we've got to be honest and go, what business outcome are we trying to achieve here? Whether we're trying to create a better customer experience, improve a specific operation, and get some efficiency gains from it. And then I think that leads us to how we ultimately measure our investment there, right?
Yeah.
We have to put our money where our mouth is, right? So I think think of the true business outcomes you want to achieve, whether that be growth or efficiency. Put those metrics in place, and be willing to dare.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me. The other thing that springs to mind, should I say, is we were having a conversation about a particular customer. Can't name them, unfortunately, but we're doing huge innovation with them, and within their industry, they are actually at the absolute bleeding edge and developing industry-first agentic AI that is making decisions to help them come up with outcomes for their customers. Slightly vague because I can't really mention the industry, but I think the key thing there is that there is companies doing this, and they're the companies that are going to be ahead next year, and the year after, the ones that have actually taken that step right. So thinking about that from a leadership perspective, right? So our CEOs, CTOs, CIOs, heads of AI, those kind of leaders out there, 12 months ago, 24 months ago, to your point, we had the LLM phase, the generative AI, it's now agentic. Those leaders, it's tricky for them, right? Because it's such a changing landscape. So I think that then comes to what are the right questions, and probably sometimes even more importantly, what are the wrong questions that they should be asking to help decide how they approach AI as a topic within their organizations.
Yeah. Look, I think many look at AI as going, that's the vehicle and the engine we've got to enforce onto the organization, and then that will just sporadically generate outcome for us and drive the outcome for us. I do think it's a technology and a tool.
Yeah.
It is really innovative, but I think we do need to start from a business perspective. What do we actually want to offer, right? Do we want a larger market share? How do we think we could attain that? Do we want to create a new experience for our customers, and then weave AI into that story? Because I think it's got multiple hooks into all of those themes in terms of how it can help you achieve that outcome. So I think look at it at the lens of what are the outcomes that I'm trying to achieve, and how could AI help me achieve that, rather than going AI is the vehicle that I'm going to fit into the organization, and that should drive outcome for me. I think as well, the time is now to act upon it. The technology is ready, the data is probably ready. The thing we've got to shift is our mindset and be willing to change up the process. So I think
really look at that process health, right, as well. That's something we were talking about. It's all good and well to apply AI over a process, but it's also a great time to look at that process and see if it makes sense and see if it's actually a healthy one.
Yeah.
Because an unhealthy process with AI over the top of it could be less efficient than a really healthy process with AI over it, right?
That's correct. And I do believe going through the process of re-engineering some of your processes, and I might show you quite a few interesting tidbits about your process. And I think the generative capability is great for reimagining what it could be.
Yeah, awesome. So it was interesting, you were sort of touching on sometimes people sort of going, hey, I've got this AI tool, so I'm just going to kind of let it loose on the organization, and expecting it to sort of be a panacea or something that's going to solve a lot of issues almost magically. So curious, on your point of view, what do you think the biggest, or some of the biggest misconceptions or myths that are out there around that data and AI space?
Yeah, I think that it is a silver bullet to solve all of our commercial cost pressure and productivity issues. I do think of it as a technology and a tool. Define where you want to go, and use it to amplify that journey as well. And I think as well whether the other myth is, are we ready? Are we ready for AI, or do we need to wait until AI improves before we're ready? I think the time to act is definitely now. There's a huge opportunity in terms of embedding it and changing up your your processes within your organization. There's a lot of value to gain, and I think the technologies on both sides, kind of the historical legacy applications that most customers have, they're ready to be harnessed by AI.
It's almost like action, beats inside in a way, because you're actually getting moving, right?
Yeah.
I think like some of the ones I've seen out there as well, where companies have been successful, is that they're not going in with AI is going to replace people, and I think it's a very common misconception. I think it creates a lot of fear, and I think that prevents people from getting started at times. Whereas, I always like to think of it as how do we actually build more meaningful human connections by essentially automating all the stuff that people are busy with, so they've got more time to put more care and have more of a human connection around their interactions.
Yeah. No, I agree. I hope that AI could help us deal with the busyness factor.
Yeah.
And rather shift us from that to focusing a bit more on impact. And that's where humans and the magic happens. So. I think there's a great opportunity to leverage it for focusing on impact.
Yeah. So for people out there, and a lot of people probably don't know, Fujitsu's had 30 years in the AI space. A lot of people out there are probably going, "Wow, didn't know Fujitsu had a data and AI practice." And I'm sure there's people out there watching this going, "Fujitsu does ServiceNow." Those are probably popping up as well. So for the people out there who are watching this and going, this seems awesome, I really want to know more, how do I get started? What's your advice for those people?
Yeah, I think, as you said, Fujitsu's got a rich history in AI, and it spans all the way from the manufacturing side of the business, right? And Fujitsu's invested heavily into a data and AI capability and a ServiceNow capability, and these are two leading practices within the market. So I think if you're curious about the services, best is to probably reach out to Ian or myself, LinkedIn, grab a coffee with us and have a conversation. If you're existing customers, reach out to your account managers, and they'll
we're always up for a chat, but then I think beyond that we've got a couple of really good kind of ways to get started, around the form of really quick reviews and assessments that can paint a bit of a picture and provide a bit of direction and focus. So please feel free, pick up the phone, send an email, ping us on LinkedIn, reach out. Ray, thank you. This is definitely the highlight of the week, if not the year. So loved having a chat. Thanks for your time.
Very good.
And look forward to doing more in 2026.
Yes, definitely. And thanks for having me. And Merry Christmas to everyone who's watching.
Yeah, Merry Christmas all.
All right. Thank you.